This is Meteo Mundo.
We are live. Hi friends, welcome back to Meteo Mundo. I'm Rusty McCraney. Thank you for joining us here for this live stream on this Thursday evening. If you joined us earlier, we were breaking down what was happening in the Southwest Caribbean, and just as we were going off of that live stream a little bit earlier this afternoon, we had this potential tropical cyclone develop, and now we have a good chance of getting a tropical storm out of this before it even reaches Jamaica. So there is a lot to get through here. We're going to talk about the excessive rainfall potential, where this exactly is headed, and the other areas of the Caribbean and into the Western Atlantic that it will impact. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping us out here in the channel as well. Do me a big favor, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. We have our super chat feature. So if you want to make sure that your question is answered, you can always give us a super chat. We appreciate that support. We had a lot of support with the last live stream, but I think we're going to get even more people coming in on this evening live stream as well. There is a lot to go over here. And again, thank you for joining us. So some of the newest information is now that we have this potential tropical cyclone, we have ourselves a cone, we have ourselves a track, and we have ourselves some tropical storm watches. So real quickly, I want to look at the areas that are now under a tropical storm watch, and then we'll break this down as we roll through this live stream. We now have a tropical storm watch for Jamaica, for Haiti, the eastern sides of Cuba, the Turks and the Caicos, and the southeast Bahamas. Again, a tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible in those areas here as we move over the next 2 to 3 days. But these are the areas now that are currently under tropical storm watches. When we look at this again, how long have we been watching the Southwest Caribbean? A lot. So again, a Hurricane Air Force reconnaissance aircraft went out there and they investigated this storm earlier today, and they found just enough basically to give us this potential tropical cyclone. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that we have the more than likelihood that we're going to get a depression or a tropical storm to develop, but it's going to be impacting land very shortly. So instead of just waiting until this actually becomes a depression or a tropical storm, they call this a potential tropical cyclone to give everyone a heads up so they can begin to initiate watches and warnings, and they can put on a track. So again, does this necessarily change what I think is going to happen for our friends in Jamaica and eastern Cuba and the western sides of Hispaniola? No, it's still about the copious amount of rain that we're going to see, but certainly there could be now more of a core of wind in that 35 to 40 mile per hour range. And again, this is the third week of November, and we have ourselves what more than likely is going to be a tropical storm. And I want to be clear about this too. The Hurricane Center says more than likely we will get a tropical storm out of this before it reaches Jamaica. All right, so that's kind of the headline. More than likely, we are going to get a tropical storm out of this before it reaches Jamaica. So, looking at the current situation for you right now, again, this is moving off to the north and to the east. So, tropical storm watches. There you go for Jamaica. It's all the areas that are outlined in blue. You can see the track from the Hurricane Center. That cone and then the center line track is right over Jamaica. So there is a near certainty that as this develops, it is going to directly impact Jamaica. That would be starting through the day tomorrow. The Hurricane Center before that, if you look at this here, has this as a tropical depression with winds of 35 miles an hour, and then makes it a tropical storm with winds of over 40. Now, the time that you see is not correct, okay, but everything else is. You get the idea that along this track, tropical depression, and then we get a tropical storm. The areas in blue that are highlighted here on this are the areas of tropical storm force winds, and there's the opportunity that we get some of that as we cross the island. So through Jamaica, the eastern sides of Cuba, then right through the Turks and the Caicos. And again, all the areas that you see with our blue lines through them, those are the islands that have tropical storm watches that are currently in effect. That does include all of the Haiti side of Hispaniola. It does not include the Dominican Republic side at this point in time. So again, that's the newest information. Thanks so much for tuning in here, guys. Again, questions, throw them in the chat. you've got specific comments, let me know. So with all of this new information, there's really a lot to break down here. Let's bring back on our satellite imagery. I do want to start with what's currently happening in Jamaica. I think that's probably a decent idea. Let's take off the official forecast for now, simply because it's going to give us a little bit better area to play with here. So for Jamaica, I came on earlier this afternoon and we talked about how the rain was really beginning to set in, but that we still had more than a day's worth of rain to be moving in. We've had overcast skies. We've had a good amount of rain there. And at this point in time, because of the rain, and the most that I've seen officially is about 60 millimeters, and that's going to be in St. Elizabeth Parish, which is on the southwest side of the island, but a lot of reports of heavily flooded roads across all of the parishes. So if you live in Jamaica, drop it in the comments. Let me know exactly what you've been experiencing today. And again, 2.5 inches of rain seems to be the maximum, but the rain intensity is coming up as we've rolled into our now Thursday evening. This steady progressive rain will continue overnight and into our Friday. And again, ahead of the actual center of circulation, there is a ton of rich, abundant moisture. It is about the rainfall totals in Jamaica that I have the highest concern about. Sure, there will be a core of wind coming through and that could impact certain areas. I mean, obviously you could have more downed trees because of this with the saturated soil that could lead to additional power issues. But the more widespread issue is going to be the potential for flash flooding. And because of that now, the government of Jamaica has issued a flash flood warning for Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary parishes here, and flash flood watches for everyone else. So very, very heavy rain is likely through at least tomorrow evening in Jamaica. That is going to be the first island that significantly gets impacted. And coming up, we're going to take a look at all the different models. We'll break down kind of what the forecast looks to be like here between now and Sunday as this moves to the north and to the east. But talking about the here and now, and again, there's just so many changes since the last time that I came on just a few hours ago, simply because now we have this potential tropical cyclone with all of the additional watches and warnings. But I always say, friends, please check in with your local officials and your local government for any emergency preparedness you might need to do, for any new information, any new flood statements, any severe weather statements in these areas. Again, that is your responsibility to check in on that. I try and pass along as much official information as I can find. And again, that's the newest information, a lot of flash flood warnings in effect as well. So for Eastern Cuba, it's going to be the same thing towards Guantanamo, and then the western sides of Haiti, especially on the coastline towards Lacaille, and then towards Port-au-Prince, we're going to have significant rain. We're going to have some significant wind there. And even a little, I don't know if I'm surprised, but it's going to be a little bit different scenario for the Turks and Caicos. There are tropical storm watches in effect for the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas, but this storm will be picking up some forward speed. So we could get some tropical storm winds in the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas, but the faster movement of this disturbance will hopefully not bring as much rain to those areas. And again, at this point in time, it is just a potential tropical cyclone. Literally, while we're doing this live stream, this could become a depression. It just really depends on what's happening. But you notice that there is a nice little flare up of some storms here to areas to the north. And one area that I don't want to completely forget are our friends in Central America. It has been raining extremely heavily in Panama and portions of Costa Rica, where they could get more than a foot of rain overall as well. So I'm keeping a close eye for Panama City area and other portions of Costa Rica. Again, rich moisture coming out of the south, feeding into that area of low pressure, could drop more than a foot of rain in portions of Costa Rica and especially towards Panama. So that's another area that could have some potential flooding with this as well. All right, let's switch on over to some of our models. And I want to say hi to everyone. Thank you for joining us here. And let's take a look at some of the chat real quick, and then we'll get into it. Good evening, everyone. And again, love to hear the reports. Thank you so much for dropping in that. Master D says it's raining heavily in Kingston right now. Charles says been raining all day in Nassau in the Bahamas. We'll talk about the Bahamas coming up as well with that non-tropical low. There's several areas to get into, but gale warnings and a lot of rain for the Northwest Bahamas. Let's see here. John says it's hardly raining in St. Mary. Again, I don't expect it to be persistent rain of a heavy nature. It is the cumulative total that we're going to get out of this because it's so slow moving. That's really the big story. There will be breaks in the action. We're not going to get days and days of heavy rain, but between now and tomorrow night, the cumulative total could be more than a foot in a couple of areas. That is of big concern. And I mentioned it in the last live stream as well. If we think that the rain's going to continue for another 24 to 28 hours, okay? And if you got a quarter of an inch of rain on average, which is not a lot, just a quarter of an inch of rain on average, has about 7 more inches of rain, and more than likely those rainfall rates are going to be higher than that as well. So again, looking at the GFS model, this is as of right now. We've got the rain right over Jamaica continuing here through the evening in the overnight hours. This is the wee hours of your Friday morning. And as we get into Friday afternoon, we'll try and pull the core of some of this rain off. I will say this, the GFS model is slightly faster in moving the rain away from Jamaica tomorrow compared to some of the other models. It tries to kind of clear things out by 7 p.m. and then swings that heavy rain towards Haiti and eastern Cuba. Show you the NAM model coming up as well, where it keeps and lingers the heavier rain a little bit deeper into Friday. But hopefully by Friday night, we're done with the rain in Jamaica. But again, that's another 24 hours of very heavy rain, spotty rain for the Cayman Islands. But I think you guys have really dodged the bullet here. It is going to be Haiti, eastern Cuba, and then eventually towards the Turks and Caicos. Now look, just because there's not a tropical storm warning, tropical storm watch in effect for Dominican Republic, doesn't mean we're not going to get some potentially flooding rains there. Still a high chance of some flooding issues across all of Hispaniola. And then for Puerto Rico, spotty, heavier rain that will be developing mainly into the weekend hours. But it is areas off towards your west with that highest concern for some of the heavier rain. All right, let's get into it here. Let's see what else we got going on. Let's see. Delroy says raining heavy in Old Harbor right now. Avis says rain and wind in eastern Kingston. Okay, let's see here. Montego Bay, Jamaica, having light showers all day. So a lot of my friends in Jamaica chiming in. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Heavy rain in South St. Elizabeth from Mark there in Jamaica. Let's see here. Dominica, West Indies, few showers over there. This is not going to impact there. That's good news. Let's see here. Tropical storm warning issued for the entire island of Jamaica. I don't know if it's a warning. I still believe it's a tropical storm watch. Okay, we had a 7 p.m. update, still a tropical storm watch for Jamaica. Just means that watch, tropical storm conditions are possible, warning, tropical storm conditions are likely. Now, that being said, because the official forecast has this becoming a tropical storm before it reaches Jamaica, it more than likely will become a tropical storm warning. It's just kind of a timing issue as of now. But again, we don't even have a tropical depression as of yet. But you can just see all of that heavy rain moving through. So let's take a look at some of the precipitation totals here. This is going to be the GFS model again. And you're looking at significant rain from Jamaica through eastern Cuba, Haiti, and up towards the Turks and to the Caicos here. So taking a look at that, we'll pause it right about there and go out. So this would be complete storm totals for us here. And again, there's going to be a bit of a discrepancy here on the GFS between what happens on the eastern side of the island and the western side of the island. Do I fully buy that it's going to be this much of a difference? No. But you get the idea that we've got a lot more rain to come. So for Kingston and Portmore and Spanish Town, about 5-6 additional inches of rain. Eastern tip of the island, if I can get myself off the map there, about 7 towards Port Antonio. It'll pop up there, about 5 additional inches of rain. A little bit less, but still significant for Mandeville and Maypen. Again, looking in those areas, about 5 on over towards about 4 inches of rain, maybe 3 towards Mandeville. And then you get towards the Westmoreland area, Montego Bay and Negril, just the western side of the island. Again, I don't buy that it's just going to be 1 to 2 inches additional rain. It's more than likely going to be an average of these. And the GFS is actually underdoing what the other models are reporting as far as potential for rainfall. I've got 3 additional models to show you. The GFS is the lowest of the 4 for Jamaica. So I hope that this is true and that we get 3, 6, maybe 8 additional inches of rain, which could still lead to a lot of flooding concerns. But my concern is that these numbers might end up being in the double digits, 10, 12 plus inches of rain for portions of the island. It's a big concern that I have, and I'll show you why coming up. But then you see this swath of rain on the GFS, which does become even higher in nature as you get towards the eastern tip of Cuba, where, if I can grab that tool, where again, you're pulling around 10 inches of rain on the southeast portion of the island. Same thing for the southern side of Haiti towards Lacaille there on the coast. Again, the GFS model is around 5. I have seen other models that are closer to 10 inches of rain near Lacaille. So a little bit underdone, I think, overall with the GFS as far as the rain goes. Decent swath of rain through portions of the Turks and Caicos, from Matthewtown on over towards Clarencetown there as well. Oh, Cockburntown, sorry. I'm jumping all over the map. But to get the idea, there it is. A few inches of rain there. But again, I'm not as concerned with the Turks and the Caicos because of the forward speed of this disturbance as we get into the weekend and then towards Santo Domingo there. Again, not a tropical storm watch for the Dominican Republic. A couple of inches of rain. But when you're talking about the higher terrain of the island of Hispaniola, a few inches of rain can lead to bad flash flooding, mudslides, certainly something we have to keep a very close eye on. And that same scenario is possible for Jamaica as well. So surf and sea conditions will be kicked up. Getting out of port is not advised over the next several days for Jamaica and Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Staying in harbor is a great idea. And again, those are the rainfall totals from the GFS. Let's look at the wind real quick, and then we'll switch over, look at a couple of the other models. These are going to be the wind gusts. As I loop this, I'll go back over to chat, see what else we got going on here. Okay. Vincent says Portland right now getting some good light rain. That's good. You know, I'm glad that we're not really picked up the rain so significantly as of yet, because again, we've got another 24 hours to go. I think the most persistent and consistent heavier rain develops overnight and then throughout the morning into the afternoon hours of Friday. Again, about 2.5 inches of rain is the most that I have seen so far in Jamaica today, but there's also been reports of heavily flooded roadways already. Warren says heavy rain in Portmore, Jamaica right now, in that they had some strong winds and heavy rain this morning. When we last did the last live stream, Kingston had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. That was fairly significant. Hello, Violet, saying it's raining in Clareton right now. Let's see, Shani says issued a tropical storm watch. Yep, there is a tropical storm watch that is in effect, and that could be upgraded to a tropical storm warning tomorrow, because again, this is forecast to become a tropical storm before it reaches Jamaica. So on the GFS model, again, as far as the winds go, we're picking up a little bit in the way of some maximums. If we take a look at those maximums right now, they're in that 40-mile-an-hour range. It's supportive of a minimal tropical storm. So we see those winds coming over the island and then moving as we get into tomorrow morning. So kind of a nice wind maximum there near and offshore of 35, 40. Again, it's the wind is not the biggest threat or the biggest impact. It's the rain. It's the flash flooding potential. I just want to make sure everyone realizes that regardless of it's a depression or a tropical storm and winds are 35 or winds are 40, yes, that could cause an impact in a higher variety, if you will, the potential to knock down some trees with the saturated soil, maybe some power line issues because of that, maybe some structures that just aren't very sturdy could get knocked around a little bit more by 40-mile-an-hour winds or some higher gusts. But the overall threat is going to be the copious amounts of rain. Again, 8, 10, 12 plus inches of rain in some of these areas with the life-threatening flash flooding and the mudslides or the higher terrain that comes along with it. And again, even the GFS model is not so robust on that. So let's switch over to the NAM. Another model I can show you here. We're going to look at the wind gusts out of the NAM for the same time frame. So I'm going to extend this out. Now the NAM has always been a little bit more aggressive with some of these winds. And you can see the NAM is trying to wrap it up a little bit more. The NAM really is in a bit more agreement with the Hurricane Center's thinking. right now, but then it kind of meanders it off towards the east. And again, we have such a broad disturbance. I'm not surprised that we still have not a ton of agreement in the actual track of the center of circulation. Kind of the broad picture we're getting a better clarity on, but the actual track center, it's a little bit more ill-defined. So on the NAM model here, let's take a look at that as we get into, again, this is tonight. Nice gusts around. So what I would expect in around Jamaica is for these winds to begin to pick up and get some gusts in that 35, even 40 mile an hour range here over the next couple of hours. And then the weather kind of just to go downhill tonight. The winds will be more consistent. They'll be stronger as we get into tomorrow morning and into tomorrow afternoon. This is noontime here across the island. There's your 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. So again, the NAM model is a little bit more robust in the wind profile. You can clearly see where the center is. There's your area devoid of wind. That would be the center of circulation of what could become tropical storm vents. There are your winds around 40 miles an hour on the north and the east side. That all checks out. You're going to get your strongest winds on the northern side, and then it kind of drifts off towards the east. Now, do we buy that? More than likely not. More than likely it's not going to do that. Now, this would then take it right over the Dominican Republic as we get into Saturday and Sunday. So it's a little bit wonky, I think, on the track. It kind of meanders it more east and then shoots it north. Is it plausible? Absolutely. But you get the idea that there's some good wind relative to the GFS for Jamaica out of that. All right, let's look at the rainfall out of this. And again, apologize, it's going to jitter for you a little bit. Going to let that motion. I'm going to grab my first drink of water here, and we'll get back to the chat as well. Over 200 people watching us. Thank you for joining us again. If you are new to the channel, my name is Rusty McCraney. I'm the chief meteorologist here at Meteo Mundo. We forecast for the Caribbean and the Bahamas. When we have situations like this, we will come live on the air. All the information that you're seeing is streamed in real time. We've got a lot of different information we like to pass along, and we do these live streams. We do forecast updates across the digital platforms as well. Thank you so much for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, we've got our chat running. We have our chat moderators as well. They'll jump in from time to time and help me out. But if you have a specific question about the forecast, throw it in the chat. We've got a lot of areas to cover. But again, being on the YouTube platform, we've got plenty of time to do that. We do have our super chat feature if you want to help support the channel. Again, we certainly appreciate that, and that will pop up in big bold, and I will certainly make sure I get to that question right away if you use our super chat to help support Meteo Mundo. So thank you very much. All righty. Hi, weather trackers. How you guys doing? Raining heavy where you are. Mary says, appreciate the updates. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you. Marcia says it's raining heavily here in St. Thomas right now. I can understand why. Natalie says, thank you, to someone else. And also, I need to almost read these ahead of time because you all are talking to each other, and I appreciate that as well. Let's see here. I don't want to make sure I block anyone. I keep putting the wrong button here. Yep. Tropical storm should make landfall tomorrow in Jamaica. That is the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. We mentioned that, but I can show you that again. Getting some nice showers in Maypen, says John Terry. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So a lot of my friends in Jamaica coming through on the chat right now, and I appreciate that as well. Let's see here. Kanisha, thank you for saying thank you. We appreciate you. Raining in Kingston. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be wet in Jamaica, guys. And again, my concern is between now and this time tomorrow night, how much rain your island sees. And that could be a lot, 8, 10, 12 inches of rain in some of the models, maybe even locally higher. So the NAM model here, again, is going to pull the heavier rain and then kind of spin it more east rather than north. It's not the solution from the National Hurricane Center, but again, just a model to show you. But you see how broad the area of very heavy rain is going to be. That is of the biggest concern that I have. So let's reset this for those who have come in. We've been live now for about a half hour. Again, if you're just tuning in, we have tropical storm watches that are in effect for a lot of Caribbean islands, including Jamaica, the eastern side of Cuba, the western side of Haiti, and then up towards our friends in the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas. All of these areas are under tropical storm watches. What we have at this point in time is we have a potential tropical cyclone. Now, I know there's a lot of different terminology. What that means is that more than likely we are going to get a tropical depression and then a tropical storm before it reaches Jamaica. And because it's such a short time frame, the Hurricane Center wanted to get the messaging out. They didn't want to wait for this to develop like 50 miles from the south coast of Jamaica, and then there's no time for anyone to react. So that's why we have this potential tropical cyclone. But if you see along this path, you see this right here, it says TD. I know it's hard to see, but the official forecast has this becoming a tropical depression over the next 6 hours. And then as the track, and you can see that cone of uncertainty basically encompasses all of the island, and that little marker right there near Montego Bay is TS for tropical storm. So the official forecast from the Hurricane Center has a tropical storm moving over Jamaica tomorrow. It then moves off to the north and to the east and impacts eastern Cuba tomorrow night and into Saturday, and then continues on a northeast track and impacts the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas Saturday and into Sunday. Now, wedged in between this, Haiti will be getting some of this activity beginning late tomorrow night and into Saturday, and maybe even some heavier rain through portions of Sunday as well. That's kind of the overall time frame for you here. So let's take a look at some of those tropical storm watches. I mentioned them: Jamaica, Haiti, eastern Cuba, the Turks and the Caicos, and the southeast Bahamas. The GFS track right over Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Turks and Caicos, then accelerates quickly to the north and to the east, okay? So again, 98L, which is now potential tropical cyclone 22. So I apologize for not updating the banner, but you get the idea. Let's look at some of the other big problems. This is the European model rainfall total. I have zoomed in on this area: Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Haiti, Turks and Caicos. If you see the browns to the whites and to the purples, those are areas of 12 to 18 inches of rain on the European model. So I showed you the GFS earlier, which is more like 4 to 8 with some maybe locally higher amounts. The European model is nearly double, okay? That's a concern. All right, the bottom line is there's going to be a lot of rain that will fall along the track of this potential tropical cyclone, which is going to be a depression and maybe a tropical storm. And it's such a slow moving system, relatively speaking, that again, even with a quarter to a half inch rainfall rates per hour, the total could be significant. Now, the National Hurricane Center, okay, has put out their own forecast as well. And I wanted to show you this because it is in line with the European model. So it even points out towards Kingston, 12 plus inches of rain locally, okay? Little maximum northeast of the island and just southeast of Cuba, 16. I mentioned Lacaille, 10 plus inches of rain locally on this map from the National Hurricane Center. And then it also talks about the very heavy rain for Panama and for Costa Rica, over a foot of rain locally. You can just see this swath of rich tropical moisture streaming in from south to north. And again, this is from the Hurricane Center. So I wanted to show you several different models. The average, if you will, would be about 8 to 12 for Jamaica, but certainly over a foot is possible. And then for portions of Haiti, 3 to 6, but locally higher, more than 10. I think it's going to be significant rain for the eastern side of Cuba. And as I've mentioned, not as much rain for the Turks and Caicos because of the fast forward speed. This thing will accelerate fairly quickly, but the wind threat for the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas will be up as well. That's going to be one of the bigger issues. Okay, Euro rainfall totals for the Bahamas. We haven't talked about the Bahamas yet, but my friends in the Northwest Bahamas have been seeing gale conditions with that non-tropical low, which when we went on a few hours ago was literally over the western side of Grand Bahama. Nice little maximum there for West End of 6 inches of rain. Then it has Freeport at 3. So let's average that out and say 4 to 5 inches of rain could still fall in Grand Bahama. Other areas like Eleuthera, 2 to 3 plus inches of rain. Abaco, 1.5 to 3 inches of rain. New Providence there, nearly 2. Looks like we got another 1.5 inches potentially for Bimini, and then some additional rain for portions of Abaco as well. So that's the potential rainfall totals in those areas for you here. I'm gonna take myself off camera real quickly here, and we'll reset everything here for us. I'm gonna go back to our live radar system. and I'm going to come back on camera, and then we'll get back into what's happening here. So again, if you're just tuning in, we are live here at Meteo Mundo. Thanks for joining us. We have ourselves a potential tropical cyclone. We have ourselves tropical storm watches. We've got flash flood warnings that are currently in effect for a lot of Jamaica. We are going to have additional flood issues for eastern Cuba and Haiti, potentially portions of the Dominican Republic starting late tomorrow and into the weekend. We have tropical storm watches for the Turks and the Caicos as well. Now, for what's happening here in the Northwest Bahamas, again, we're finally starting to see at least some of the heaviest rain move away. When I switch over to, let's see what I want to do here. Let's go over here. So let's take a look at what could be happening for the Bahamas over the next 48 hours. Again, a ton of wind and rain. That has been an issue. Actually, let's take a look here real quickly. I'm going to pull on the surface observations. Let's check out some wind gusts. Let's see what we got going on here. So hopefully these will pop on with our temperatures in just a second. There we go. I'm going to switch over to wind gusts. So gusts simply is this. If we've had a wind gust in your area over the last few hours, it's going to pop up. Kingston earlier had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. I don't see one right now, but we are still getting some decent breezes here through portions of the Bahamas. Again, not horrible, nearly 30 there in Freeport. Still some strong winds off the east coast of Florida, little 25-mile-an-hour wind in the central Bahamas as a gust. But again, picking up from time to time. So the winds haven't been a huge story as of yet, but there'll be some wind that comes along with some of this activity that is going to be moving into Jamaica starting tomorrow. So back to the Northwest Bahamas, switch over to the HRRR model. We'll first of all look at the reflectivity product here. So the rain, what's the rain going to be like over the next 48 hours? We're going to continue to see some heavier downpours. Now that low is racing north and east, okay? So it's going to be quickly moving away. We could still have gale conditions through tomorrow morning, and then I'm hoping that we still have a good breeze in the northwest and central Bahamas tomorrow, but that we don't have actual gale force winds. As far as the rain goes, again, as we move through tomorrow, look at this blow up of heavier rain right through the northwest and the central Bahamas here. We've still got more rain to go there. Now, again, it'll be wind-driven rain. It may not be as windy as what it was, but if we start off right now and we kind of pull this out into the overnight hours, look at the showers redevelop here. This is tomorrow morning around 11 a.m. You can see some heavier rain breaking out for portions of Eleuthera and Abaco and towards Nassau and Andros. It's trying to keep Freeport and Lucaya a little bit drier there in Grand Bahama. Same thing for Walker's Key. You might nudge in a little bit drier air there, but we're splitting hairs. It's going to be very wet over the next couple of days. And then the wind, again, that wind field is beginning to pull north. All right. There'll be some additional breeze with the rain developing tomorrow in the northwest and central Bahamas. But as far as the horrible gale winds, I'm hoping they pull north and east. Now, small craft should still more than likely remain in port, check in with your local areas, but finding safe harbor with these winds the next couple of days is still probably a good idea. Again, it'll get a little bit better over the weekend here, but we're still pinging on, wind gusts of 20 and 30 knots from time to time. We do have a super chat. Okay. Thank you very much, Noble Pills. I appreciate you for that. And again, thank you for supporting the channel. Super Chat is a great way to support us here at Meteo Mundo. And if you have a question to go along with your Super Chat, I will be happy to answer that in short order as well. But again, thank you very much, Noble Pills, for that. And anyone else for the Super Chat feature. We appreciate that very, very much. You again can see that nice little spin there in the Bahamas as far as some of that nice wind. Again, not going to be, gale force over the weekend, but I don't know if I'd want to get out in the open waters. Long period swells will still accompany some of this activity. If I swing over to the GFS model here and we continue to look at the winds, and I go back out in time, probably not that far, but I go back out in time and I loop this and I go into a broader perspective here, you're going to see this wind field in what's going to be brought. First of all, in Bermuda, keep an eye out for really strong winds to be moving into your area over the weekend, late tomorrow and into Saturday. And again, the wind profile here on the GFS picks up some forward speed and merges. This all becomes basically one elongated post-tropical system. Okay, there's a frontal boundary that one off of the northwest Bahamas developed off of, and that's also racing off to the north and to the east. So I think this becomes extratropical pretty quickly. The Hurricane Center does keep this system that's south of Jamaica as a tropical storm through the Turks and Caicos, but I think that as it's moving through the Turks and Caicos, it's beginning to evolve into a subtropical storm. Now, it would still retain a name. If we get vents, it would be subtropical storm Vince, but it's not going to be truly tropical in nature as it races north and east. And again, just a huge wind profile up towards the northeast side of the United States here with these two systems merging. The wind, the rain has been very significant there in portions of Florida and the northwest Bahamas out of that particular system. Okay, let me get back over to what's going on here with our chat. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I appreciate you very, very much. You got a question, drop her in the old chat here. And I'll get it. We have another one, Castle Views Live, with a super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I really do. If you got a question, I don't think I saw the question with it, but if you do, drop it in. But thank you very much, Castle Views Live, for dropping in that super chat. We appreciate you here at Meteo Mundo. Thank you again, if nothing else, for just liking this live stream. It gets us some more exposure. Thank you for tuning in. We certainly have more people watching right now than what we had in our previous live stream in the afternoon. I knew it was going to be a little bit busier. A lot of folks are now off. They're at home. They're getting prepared. We're getting into a closer time frame for impacts for portions of Jamaica and Haiti and eastern Cuba and the Turks and Caicos. And again, if you lived in the Bahamas, my goodness, let me know how you guys have been doing. It has been really windy. I'm sure there's been at least some isolated flash flooding in portions of the northwest Bahamas as well. And that will continue at least through tomorrow morning, but at least that low is pulling away. Now, as the weather gets better in the Bahamas, it's going to get worse for our friends in Jamaica and eastern Cuba and Haiti and the Dominican Republic and portions of the Turks and Caicos as well. Water break number 2, but I'm doing pretty good. Let's check it out. Hi, Joan. Mandeville, pouring right now. Yeah, it's what's going to happen. I mean, again, Charles says he had 5 inches in parts of Nassau today. Not surprising, Charles. Again, you know, when you're talking about rain, it's really area specific. I'm not surprised that we get an inch or two total here and there, and then you say we have 5. I think that's what's going to happen in Jamaica. You know, I think overall we're going to have some people say, Rusty, I only got 3-4 inches of rain, but others will say we had 8, 12 plus inches of rain. That's just what happens in these systems. You know, you can have very localized heavy rainfall events. You know, 10, 15 miles difference. You could have double the amount of rain, or you could have half the amount of rain. This is why these flash flood warnings for the island are being issued for the majority of the island, because again, we just have to pay very close attention to where we get some localized flooding, but it's a concern. So again, you're looking at potential tropical cyclone number 22. I'm going to refresh the Hurricane Center page. I want to make sure that we don't have a tropical depression as of yet. We don't. Still, the latest update is going to be a potential tropical cyclone, excuse me. That's potential tropical cyclone number 22, by the way. It would then become tropical depression number 22, and then tropical storm Vince. And again, potential tropical cyclone means that we are more than likely going to get a tropical cyclone, whether it's a depression or a tropical storm, within a 48-hour time frame to influence land or impact land. They don't want to issue the first advisory. They don't want to wait. If they think it's going to become a depression or a storm, they don't want to wait to the very last second to be able to throw out this track, to be able to throw out the tropical storm watches that are in effect, and just give everyone kind of the biggest heads up. Now, again, we are live, and the interesting thing here, when I take off, let's take off some of the forecast stuff here, and just take a look, and let's get the models off as well. Actually, I put everything on, didn't I? That wasn't great. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. Nice little blow up of activity. Let's see, do we have a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft over this area right now? Now, if you joined me for the live stream in the afternoon, we did, and we could actually see the plot. I don't see one now, so there must not be one investigating it. We actually saw the dots from the reconnaissance aircraft going in, and sure enough, right after that is when they made this potential tropical cyclone. So nice little blow up there. Let's take a look at some of the water vapor imagery. We'll look at the upper levels first. One reason why places like the Cayman Islands and areas to the west will not get the heavier rain is all of this red is nice dry air. That is what came in with the frontal boundary that spun up the low in northwest Bahamas. Really, it spun up over the Keys and brought a ton of rain to the Keys yesterday and southeast Florida and then moved away. But this drier air has moved all the way into the far northwest Caribbean. And so it's kind of on the battle lines. But the abundant tropical moisture is apparent to the south and especially to the east. So this is going to be one of those storms where not much farther west than where the center tracks, there's not going to be a lot of rain. So the Cayman Islands may get some downpours, but you notice we're not mentioning the Cayman Islands a lot, even though they're fairly close to this system. It's because all of the moisture is to the east. And that is fairly typical, but it's even more shaved off this time of the year. Again, being November, we really get these true mid-latitude storms to come in and move deep into the Gulf of Mexico or even the Caribbean. And with that comes the drier air. Now, again, we had the spin up of the storm in the northwest Bahamas, but you get the idea that areas to the west, I don't have nearly as much of a concern about, but obviously areas to the north and to the east, absolutely, there's going to be other issues to concern ourselves with. So that's what happened at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Let's look at the low-level water vapor imagery where you see the brighter blues and the whites. That's the flare-up of moisture. Nice little convective burst just east of that center. And again, that's interesting because we've lost the heat of the day now, and sometimes these storms, when they're just developing, they're diurnal in nature, meaning that they maximize themselves with the heat of the day, just like the storms over your area would, and then they lull back down overnight and they do it again the next day. But we had a nice little flare-up of storms here in just the last couple of hours. We'll see if that holds together, but it could be the first kind of signs that we're trying to deepen the pressure in that area here near where we anticipate that center to form. So again, there are signs of life, if you will, to this system. And again, the official forecast is right over that and takes it right through Jamaica tomorrow. So for my friends in Jamaica, again, the weather will just continue to go downhill. We'll continue to get downpours. Now look, again, will there be breaks in the action? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it kind of looks like right now that we might be getting some heavier downpours in portions of the island. Then we might dry out a bit. And then probably we'll see a redevelopment of the storms ahead of that center that'll work its way through. It's just a very wet 24 to 30 hour period here between now and late tomorrow night. And again, a lot of heavy moisture, a lot of heavy rain. That's going to be the big issue there. All right, let's get back over to the live chat. I'd be happy to answer more questions for you here. Going to scroll down towards the end. Let's see here. Adrian says, is the weather going to pass Jamaica tomorrow? Yes, Adrian, the worst weather will be moving in as we speak through the overnight hours and into your Friday. Tomorrow is very wet, extremely wet. Flash flooding concerns throughout the entire island, mudslide concerns and some of the higher terrain. The weather will begin to improve for Jamaica late tomorrow and especially into Saturday morning. So we can certainly look at that again. Let me switch over to this product here. And again, I want to thank my Meteo Mundo teammate behind the scenes for helping me out with everything that they've got going on with the chat as well. So let's take a look at the GFS and the reflectivity. And we'll see here. We'll step it back to right now, and then I will push it out a few days, and we'll loop it. So to answer your question, Adrian, you are looking at the GFS model. You're looking at the rain moving through. Today is the 16th. You look at the time frame on the top left of your screen. Tomorrow is the 17th, and you can see that that rain will be sticking around most of the island through Friday. It will begin to dissipate late tomorrow night. Some of the models try and linger it a little bit deeper into Saturday morning, so I don't really want to say it's done. We shot it off tomorrow night, but I think the most persistent heavier rains are done by around this time tomorrow night. It then shifts north and east, and then it's going to be the headaches for eastern Cuba and Haiti and the Turks and the Caicos as well. Again, Lakai and over towards Port-au-Prince here, concerns for our friends in Haiti. And again, with Hispaniola being an exceptionally mountainous terrain, we really have to watch out for the mudslide threat in those areas as well. JW says, picked up in the grill around 5 p.m. with heavy rain for a couple of hours. Hasn't been too heavy since, but preparing for the heavier overnight. Yep, absolutely. And then we have nothing for Belize right now. Yes, so as I mentioned, not expecting a lot areas west of this. Now for Panama and Costa Rica, yes. Again, and I've had some people chime in from Panama asking about the forecast. It's going to stay wet there as well. There's a lot of rich moisture south of where this center is trying to form. So for Panama and Costa Rica, I expect there to be additional heavier rain. You notice that for the rest of Central America, outside a couple of showers, maybe a few showers up towards the Yucatan, not a lot, not a lot. The other area that has had some rain, my friends in Trinidad and Tobago have mentioned that they have gotten some good downpours. On the model, at least, some of this activity does not redevelop for tomorrow, but you guys had some good rain in the southern side of the Windward Islands today, and so I hope it was beneficial. I hope it was something that you needed, but again, not associated with this system. For my friends in Puerto Rico, again, we will get some rain out of this. I'm going to keep an eye on whether it becomes enough to have a flooding concern. Now, your time frame is going to be late tomorrow, but especially Saturday and portions of Sunday, and you can see that on the model. If I stop this right about here, this is Saturday afternoon. Nice little flare up Saturday night. Looks like that's where you're going to get your heaviest rain into the wee hours of Sunday morning. Right now, the Virgin Islands, not too concerned about some of that heavier rain, but again, we'll keep an eye out. I would also expect the sea conditions to be really kicked up on the the western and the southern sides of the island, down towards Ponce. We could kick up some good wind and waves over there. Same thing on the western side of the island, in between there and the Dominican Republic. So long period swells, very rough sea conditions. You don't want to be going out in that. I hope you're seeking harbor there. AG7 says, what are we expecting wind-wise in Jamaica? So we are expecting the opportunity for tropical storm force winds tomorrow. That's the official forecast. So what that means is we could have winds of over 39 miles an hour sustained in Jamaica tomorrow as this comes through. Now, the GFS model doesn't show that strong of a wind, but the official forecast from the Hurricane Center is that this becomes tropical storm vents as it moves into your area. So I'm going to loop this up. So sustained winds of 39 with higher gusts. I think that's the easiest thing to say for tomorrow. Now, what is that going to cause problem-wise? Probably not a lot by itself, right? That could, maybe knock down some trees, certainly some branches and some limbs. Maybe if there's a very unsturdy structure of some kind, that could cause some damage to it. But when you combine 39 plus mile an hour winds with the rain that we're expecting and saturated ground, now you could have additional issues and larger trees could go down. Power issues are always a concern with that. It doesn't take a ton when you're looking at 8 to 12 inches of rain. But to show you again, on the GFS, the maximum wind is a little bit offshore, but we are in that 35 to potentially 40 mile an hour range. Again, it's not as strong here. The NAM is a little bit stronger and more in line with the National Hurricane Center and producing tropical storm force winds in these areas. We can take a look at the NAM as well. But yeah, it's going to be a windy day tomorrow regardless. And again, the official track has it going right over Jamaica. So I would anticipate whatever core that this system is going to have to move right over the island. Okay, and you can see the NAM model is more in agreement. Now, if you're just tuning in, I've shown this model one other time. It tries to sneak it off towards the east, which is probably not going to happen. It's still plausible, but the GFS, the European, the official track for the Hurricane Center is here. The NAM model's like here, kind of going to the south part of Jamaica and then swinging off towards the east. But you get the idea that tomorrow afternoon, there are your 40 mile an hour winds. All right. I think that's what we're going to likely see. And there is your center of circulation right there with barely any wind. It's not going to be a very defined center of circulation, but it's clear to see now on the NAM model exactly where it is. And again, you notice it sneaks it off to the east. Now, the interesting thing is it picks up the winds as it moves south into the east because it stays in the open water longer. Makes sense, right? Sea surface temperatures are in the mid 80s. If this were to stay away from land for some reason, it would get stronger because it has more time to develop. But I don't buy the solution from the NAM on the track right now, but I just wanted to show you what it's showing as far as winds go for Jamaica tomorrow, which is in line with the hurricane center, somewhere around 40 miles an hour. Okay, let's keep going. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in. I appreciate you very much. We have over 300 people in the live chat right now. Come in and say hi. Let us know how you're doing. I'm very curious to see how my friends in Jamaica and the Bahamas and Haiti and the Turks and Caicos have been faring so far. Again, we are keeping a close eye on potential tropical cyclone number 22, which is forecast to become a tropical storm. That is the official forecast from the Hurricane Center here. It might be a little hard to see, but you see that TS right there? That is the tropical storm icon with winds of around 40 to 45 miles an hour. This is the official track from the Hurricane Center. The areas in blue that you see pinging are the potential tropical storm force winds. So we could have some tropical storm force winds moving across the island. And you notice how that is expected in the Turks and Caicos. I'm not as concerned about the rain in the Turks and Caicos, but as this accelerates and picks up some forward speed, the wind is going to be a big threat for the Turks and Caicos. Again, you know, I'm going to switch over here. I'm going to take myself off camera real quick. I'm going to actually reset my graphics system real fast as well. But as what you guys are watching, our tropical storm watches that are in effect for Jamaica, Haiti, Eastern Cuba, Turks and Caicos, and the Southeast Bahamas. Now, the GFS model is pulling this system north and to the east right over Jamaica. And again, it's not 98L anymore. It is PTC 22. So we now have a potential tropical cyclone, and you can see the track from the GFS model. What else is it showing? Well, the European model says there's a lot of rain coming, guys. 12 to 18 inches for Jamaica. Those are the areas in brown and white and purple that go up to the southern coastline of Cuba in the 12 to 18 inch range. So a copious amount of rain could be moving in. And again, the models are not in a ton of agreement. The GFS model is slightly weaker with the rain, 4 to 8 plus. But again, it's not just the European model. It is from the National Hurricane Center. You're seeing some of the maximums that they are putting out. They're talking about locally a foot of rain on the southeast side of the island, including the Kingston area. Nice little bullseye there just to the north and east of the island. About 10 inches of rain for Lukai there in Haiti. If you look to the bottom left-hand side of your screen, locally a foot of rain for portions of coastal Costa Rica and Panama, and a lot of areas with 4 to 6 plus inches of rain. And then if you look up to the top of your screen, the Turks and the Caicos and the Southeast Bahamas, you notice the rainfall totals aren't as significant there, again, because I'm expecting this system to really have some decent forward speed by that point in time. And so now, at least if nothing else, we're not sitting with the rain over one area as long. All right, let's look at these rainfall totals on the Northwest Bahamas. There's still additional heavier rain likely there. 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. The maximum of that will occur over the next 24 hours. Same thing with the wind as well, friends. I expect the winds to be the most over the next 24 hours. And then as that low pulls away, we will see those winds begin to relax. Okay, so that's kind of an update with some of the other models. We're about an hour into the live stream. I'll come back on. Again, just want to show you here real quickly, and resetting this allowed me to get some new information. That's why I wanted to do this. So if I show you here, again, the time, and if this thing will stay on, I don't know if I can click it or not. I might be able to. No, I guess I can't. Hopefully the mouse will stay. The time is incorrect. It's of the 7 p.m. update. So this is not obviously the right time. That's what's occurring now. But the information over Jamaica from the Hurricane Center is maximum wind of 43 miles an hour. So a weak tropical storm. So it is officially forecast to become a tropical storm. Now, earlier in the time frame overnight, it is forecast to become a tropical depression with winds of 37 miles an hour. So in the next 6 hours, potentially we could get a tropical depression out of this, all right? And we've had a nice little blow up of storms near the center of circulation in the last few hours. Then this continues to move up to the north and to the east over eastern Cuba. Winds are 47 miles an hour, okay? And then it moves into the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, and now the winds pick up to 50. So again, Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas, gale winds, stronger winds, lighter rainfall totals. From Haiti to eastern Cuba and Jamaica, good wind, but the rainfall is going to be the most significant impact. I think we have a super chat. Let me make sure if I can see it here. Hi, Noble Pills. My goodness. Trying to buy me a beer? Thanks, Noble Pills. I appreciate you again for the super chat. Thank you very much. Let's get the hearts out for Noble Pills in the super chat, in the chat for that. And again, that's one way to support the channel, and we appreciate that here at Meteo Mundo. You want to throw a little super chat in, you want to ask a question that comes up on my screen, I'm happy to answer that for you. And again, that's one way to help support us here at Meteo Mundo. Subscribing to the channel, clicking the like button on this video helps us tremendously as well. So thank you for that support. We certainly appreciate it. We're at 300 people watching, and I appreciate you. Let me swing back over here and see other questions. Sean says, my rain gauge measured 30 millimeters of rain in just 20 minutes. Is that right, Sean? That would be interesting. 30 millimeters is about 1.2 inches of rain, if I'm doing the quick math. Somewhere around there, 1.1, 1.2 inches of rain. That's solid rain in just 20 minutes. So Sean, let me know if that was just 20 minutes, but it seems that's exactly what you're trying to tell me. Again, rainfall rate then would be about 3 inches an hour. That's a problem. I'm saying that if we get a 1/4 inch of rain per hour over the next 24 to 28 hours, we get 6, 7 inches of rain, and that's probably being conservative. So if some areas are getting 3-inch rainfall total, rainfall rates per hour, it's not going to be that heavy for very long, but you get the idea that it's not out of the question to get more than a foot of rain in portions of Jamaica with all of this rich tropical moisture coming into play. I can tell you this as well, the rain might be starting to pick up on the far western side of Haiti. More than likely it's just overcast right now, but some of that tropical moisture is trying to move in. And I'm still very impressed in a not great way about what's happening near the center of circulation. Nice little blow up of storms, guys. Nice little blow up of storms. Weather Tracker says, do you think a depression will form next update? It's possible. Yeah. The next update comes in at 10 p.m. if I am not mistaken, right? They did an intermediate advisory at 7, which should mean the next full update is at 10. Yes. That's only an hour and a half. It's close. They can issue, they will, at any point in time, they'll pull the trigger on the depression, and then they'll just do a special update for it. So if we don't get it at the 10 p.m. advisory, sometime overnight, I think is very likely. And it's still the official forecast. So yeah, I think it's a possibility with the 10 o'clock update, but if we don't get it, I don't think it won't be too much farther in the future to get that depression. Kent says, windy throughout the day, much calmer now. That's good to hear. Wacky Lee, like the name first of all. Which side of Jamaica is going to get the full force of the storm? I don't expect there to be much of a difference. I got to be honest. Again, if you look at where the official track is from the Hurricane Center, and let me just take off the satellite data because it makes it a little bit easier to see. Okay, you're looking at the official line going through western Jamaica. But again, we don't focus on one area, okay? We never focus on this center track line. The cone of uncertainty is not very wide because, again, we're about 24 hours away from this moving through, but it encompasses the entire island. Now, there might be a little bit more heavier rain and wind on the eastern side of the center of circulation. So let's just say that this line were to hold true. Maybe Negril doesn't see as much, wind and rain as everyone else, but we're so close, right? We're just so close that there would be no way that I'd say that one side of the island gets more than the other. Now, the cone of uncertainty is only 120 miles at this point in time. It's basically the length of Jamaica. You get the idea that whatever this is going to become, I think, is going to impact Jamaica as much as it could, because I think it's going to be going right over Jamaica. So I don't think that there's one area that's going to more than likely necessarily see more than any other area. There could be a little bit more rain on the eastern side just because we're flowing in the winds on the north and the east side. We might train these storms a little bit more, meaning they develop on top of each other. And from Kingston east, That's where the Hurricane Center actually painted on that 12-inch plus maximum as well. But overall, flooding rains are possible for the western side of the island as well. There's no area that I would discount at this point in time. But thank you, Wacky Lee, for your question. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Sean says yes. Okay, so 20 minutes. Sean had about 1.1, 1.2 inches of rain, 30 millimeters of rain. That's significant. Again, that's about 3 inches of rain per hour. We wouldn't see that kind of rainfall rate last forever, but again, it's significant. So it shows you that even before the core of this has moved through, we're getting some rainfall rates from time to time in Jamaica of around 3 inches of rain an hour. So that's significant. Nigel says, raining in Ocho Rios for days. Yeah. Hope you don't get too much more, Nigel. That's for sure. I certainly hope, it levels off for you here, but we'll have to keep a close eye for you there. Kevin says, great report. I love the weather. Hoping it doesn't get too strong. I'm with you, man. We don't want this to get anything, but my job is to come on here and to give you what I feel like is going to happen and the potential impacts. Again, if you're just tuning in, tropical storm watch is in effect for Jamaica that could be upgraded to a tropical storm warning. More than likely will be. I don't want to say for 100%, but if we are forecasting a tropical storm over Jamaica, it's going to be upgraded to a warning more than likely. There's also a flash flood warning for Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary parishes. Please check in with your local officials and your local government for all of these severe weather messaging, all the flood statements, any preparedness in your area. Again, that's your responsibility. I want you to keep up to date with your local government and your local officials. Anytime I get anytime I get official information, I'm happy to pass it along, but things change so quickly and there's so many areas for me to cover that I don't want me just be the only, piece of information that you're getting as far as these statements go, okay? If you check in with your local government and your local officials, you're gonna make sure you get the most updated information there. And again, because those can quickly change. Now, in the broader perspective, all of these areas under tropical storm watches, I can tell you that. And gale warnings continue for the Bahamas as well. Same thing for an excessive rainfall watch. I have a lot of different pieces of paper in front of me here. The other report I got, by the way, was there were a lot of heavily flooded roads already in portions of Jamaica simply by the rain that you guys have already seen today. So if we had heavily flooded roads out of a few inches of rain today, you can kind of spell out what's going to be happening for tomorrow. Travel may be pretty rough in portions of Jamaica. Marcia says, raining heavily in Alexandra, St. Anne, Jamaica. Thank you very much for that report. St. Anne, the north central side of the island, right around there. Thank you very much for that report. St. Anne's Bay included there in St. Anne. Sorry, I don't have St. Anne on the map, but you can see that. And then there's Port Antonio over there. And then there's Kingston and Mandeville and Maypen and Montego Bay. You guys know your island. But again, it will continue to be nice downpours this evening and overnight and into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. All right, back to the chat. Joshua says, I live in Jamaica and it's bad. Well, I certainly hope that things turn out well for you. Again, we want to get the messaging out that there is the potential for flash flooding. That's my biggest concern. That's why we have the flash flood warnings. Your government has issued those for you. That's why we have the tropical storm watch. If you don't have to get out and about, that would be another piece of advice I would pass along. Now, look, not everyone can heed that, and you need to make decisions for yourself. But if you have the opportunity just to buckle down and hang out for tomorrow and not move much, probably a good idea. Concerned about the flash flooding with some of the low-lying areas. You know those areas where you live. You know some of the roads that flood quickly with this kind of rain forecast. And again, even the higher terrain, the hillier western side of the island, we get 4-6 inches of rain. That could lead to some mudslides and some terrain issues as all that water tries to feed down into some of the lower areas. Again, that's all concerns that I have between now and tomorrow night, because again, we're really just starting this event. We've had good downpours in Jamaica, in portions of eastern Cuba, and some areas of Haiti, but we're still setting up to prepare for what's going to be happening in the more persistent rains overnight and into tomorrow. And now that we have more than likely a tropical storm coming through, there will be some higher impacts with the wind. Again, not extreme impacts with the wind, but now that becomes part of the equation as well. The core of the winds moving through the island as we're getting this heavier rain. All righty, thank you very much. Dylan says, how much will St. Catherine get for tomorrow? So we're looking at, again, in St. Catherine, just to the northwest of Kingston, including Spanish Town there. Again, 4 to 8, but locally higher. It might be a little conservative. Again, we can take a look at a couple of the other models coming up here, but some of the areas, some of the models on the eastern side of the island paint more than a foot of rain, more than 12 inches storm total. So from what's already fallen to what will fall in the future, maybe more than 12 inches of rain. It's significant. I will put it to you that way. Not much of a difference between 6 and 8 inches of rain and then between 8 and 10. Significant rain is likely for the island, leading to the possibility of some life-threatening flash flooding. That's the messaging I want to get out of this, and it's something that we'll monitor and update through tomorrow, and your local officials and your local government will be doing the same, but enough to cause problems, certainly. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Dylan. Let's see what else we got here, guys. How you all doing? Let's see. Yeah, so Sean just says, after 20 minutes, it started drizzling on and off. Noble Pills coming in says that they had some flooding in Bimini. It's not surprising. There's been some very heavy rain up there as well. I mean, obviously, we've been focusing a lot on what's happening here, and for good reason. But for my friends in the Bahamas, you guys have had a rough time of it. Again, we had that non-tropical low. And let's take a look at the water vapor imagery here. You can really clearly see this. We had this non-tropical low develop right here, work its way over the Bahamas. Now, it developed late last night over the Florida Keys. There was a lot of flooding along portions of Miami. We had some really heavy rain for the Keys, and then this shifted north and east with gale force winds and a lot of rain for the northwest Bahamas. I'm hoping that this is beginning to come to an end, that the gale conditions are beginning to move north and east. The rain, though, will continue. If you look down here towards New Providence and areas south, nice moisture is beginning to overstream that area. More rain is on the way for tomorrow. Some of it could be heavy and some of it could lead to additional flash flooding. So it's interesting because the central and the northwest Bahamas are dealing with our non-tropical low that developed off an old frontal boundary off the peninsula of Florida and brought the gale warnings and the excessive rainfall there. Then you get into the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos, and it's not that low that's causing a problem. It's going to be our tropical low coming out of the Caribbean, moving north and east and into the western Atlantic. That will bring gale conditions and some heavier rain to the southeast Bahamas. So as the weather begins to improve for the central and the northwest Bahamas, starting late tomorrow and Saturday, the weather goes downhill for the southeast Bahamas, and then for portions of the Turks and Caicos, Saturday into Sunday, as this system pulls through. So thank you so much for that information, Noble Pills. Appreciate you very much. Tasha says, moderate showers in Spanish Town on and off. Weather Tracker says, we'll be doing a landfall stream tomorrow. Don't have a specific agenda as of yet, but certainly we'll be keeping a very close tab on things. Forecast updates, potential live stream, absolutely possible here. I'll see how it plays out, but you know that if we're doing live streams now ahead of this thing, as it gets closer to Jamaica, more than likely I'll be on, and we'll keep you updated here at Meteo Mundo. So again, and if you want to send us pictures and send us video, you can find us on Instagram. You can also email us at myMediaMundo@gmail.com. And I'll show you that coming up before we end the live stream, the other ways to get a hold of us as well. Let's see. Javen says, how much wind will Westmoreland get? Again, tomorrow we would be looking at some 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds. That would be from the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. Again, the center of circulation moving right over. You notice that dot, and that's the official from the Hurricane Center, has 43. So they round to the nearest 5. So if we were to take a look at the discussion from the Hurricane Center, this would say 45 mile an hour winds, but the precise number, which I can show you here, is 43. So again, for tomorrow afternoon, we are going to anticipate some winds sustained of over 40 miles an hour. Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate you very much. Okay. Yeah, we've been rolling now for about an hour and 15 minutes. This is awesome, guys. A couple more drinks of water. I think we're going to wrap this up pretty shortly. But again, if you're just tuning in, I want to make sure I go over everything one more time. So I think let's do that. Let's do kind of a nice 5-10 minute wrap up, and then we'll get going. So let's, yeah. I'm just checking one thing out here, guys. Yep. Okay. My team behind the scenes giving me some information, so I just want to make sure I got everything before we reset. All right. So let us reset things here, and then we'll go for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll say goodbye for tonight. Again, if you're just tuning in, we do have potential tropical cyclone number 22. All right. More than likely, in a few hours or overnight, this is going to become a tropical depression number 22. And then the official forecast has this going across Jamaica as a tropical storm. It would be named Vince as a minimal tropical storm, but still a tropical storm tomorrow. The biggest impacts for Jamaica will continue to be the rainfall threat, 8 to 12 plus inches in some spots. We will continue to see some winds of over 40 miles an hour on this track. And again, that's what I've been pointing out, that, you know, there will be some wind impacts, but the bigger impact for Jamaica is going to be the potential for flash flooding rains. We've already had some good rain today. It's going to pick up in intensity overnight and then throughout our Friday, eventually tracking to the north and to the east. But again, it's a slow, meandering system at this point in time. There's not a lot of forward speed with this as of right now. It's moving to the north at 8 miles an hour. I don't expect it to really pick up much more speed than that until it gets north of Jamaica. So that's why we're in for another 24, 28, 30 hours of some significant rain. It then shifts over towards Haiti, where Haiti is under a tropical storm watch. Right now, not for the Dominican Republic, but there could still be some heavier rain there. So for Port-au-Prince and Lucay, certainly some heavier rain, maybe up to 10 inches in a couple of spots there. It then continues to move through eastern Cuba, where they could see over a foot of rain, and then into the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas, where it finally begins to pick up some forward speed. It's getting stronger as it does so just off of the coastline of Cuba. We're up to 47 mile an hour winds. As it moves through the Turks and Caicos, now we're up to 50 mile an hour winds. But faster forward speed, not as much rain. Not as concerned about the flood threat in the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, but gale conditions are likely in the western Atlantic as this storm moves through. It should become extratropical or become a subtropical storm and lose its tropical characteristics fairly quickly as it moves through the Turks and Caicos. So again, tropical depression to a tropical storm, and then back to a subtropical storm as it moves through the Turks into the Caicos. So that's kind of a snapshot here at 8:49 p.m. of the current watches that are in effect. Nice, broad, rich tropical moisture in play. All right, tropical storm watches: Jamaica, Haiti, eastern Cuba, Turks and Caicos, and the southeast Bahamas. GFS model shows you again, pulling right through Jamaica, eastern Cuba, tracking north and east over the Turks and Caicos as we get through the weekend. Rainfall is my biggest concern. European model, 12 to 18 inches of rain in this brown to white to purple area, which encompasses a lot of Jamaica. It's not as significant for portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, minus the the southern coastline. And that does include Santo Domingo, where they, again, 6 inches of rain, not out of the question for Santo Domingo, but especially towards Lucay there on the coastline of southern Haiti. Maybe 10 plus inches of rain possible there. Same thing for southeast Bahamas. This is the National Hurricane Center's product as far as their rainfall potential goes as well. You can see, again, all of Jamaica would be at least 4 to 6. They do make it a little bit higher on the eastern side of the island. That nice southeast wind pulling in richer moisture on the eastern side of the island. We might be shaving hairs here though, threading that needle, but locally up to a foot of rain near the Kingston area in the eastern side of the island, and even higher maximum offshore. There's your 10-inch potential towards Lucay. There's a very heavy rainfall over the eastern side of Cuba. The Turks and the Caicos, again, not as much rain. And then again, with that rich south wind bringing in the moisture, you've got the heavier rainfall totals over Panama and portions of Costa Rica where they could get locally a foot of rain. So well away from the center of circulation. They've had a lot of rain already, but they could see additional heavier rain in portions of Central America. For our friends in the Bahamas, again, an additional 3, 4, maybe 5+ inches of rain. I hope it's more in that 2 to 3 inch rainfall total between now and Sunday morning. Most of that rain falling tomorrow and Saturday, most of the wind through early tomorrow, and then the winds finally beginning to relax throughout our Friday and then into Saturday and Sunday. That's the northwest Bahamas and the central Bahamas. The southeast Bahamas, obviously the weather is going to get a little bit rougher there. Okay, as we wrap things up, where can you follow us? Well, we've got social media covered. Instagram, My Media Mundo. You can send us videos there. Our friends from Belize sent us some video of some of the flooding there when that disturbance came through about 10 days ago. So find us on Instagram. Make sure you like us. Same thing for TikTok. We give you kind of snippets of the forecast in between these longer videos and live streams. We got ourselves a Facebook page as well, Media Mundo. Just find us there. And if you want to email us both pictures and videos, it is mymediamundo@gmail.com. You can also find that email address on the community tab of our YouTube channel. So you don't have to write it down right now if you go to the community tab, and also in our description as well. I believe in our description, you will find that email address, mymediamundo@gmail.com. All right, friends, with 283 people, we're going to wrap it up for the night. Again, thank you very much for on your way out clicking the like button on this video. If you're not a subscriber yet, why not, right? Give us a subscription. Click the notification bell. You'll know when we're going to go live. Again, thank you very much for the super chats and supporting the channel in other ways. To my friends in Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba and the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, I will keep a very close watch out for you. Again, please heed any local officials, the local statements there. The flooding concerns are the big problem, I think, for Jamaica and other areas that I just mentioned. So again, just being very cautious with some of that heavier rain that's going to be moving into your area will be of significance. Now, again, remember, we also live stream this weather system behind me, okay? So when I'm done with this, we're going to crank up our live stream. All right, in this live stream, we'll go through a lot of different viewpoints, taking you across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. It's all updated real-time information. The live satellite, the live radar, the live updated tropical tracks as well. All right, all real-time information. So in between these live streams and videos, come into the live tab, click on this, get a few minutes of information, get the latest in your area. If you want to sit there and watch it for a couple of hours, I've kind of been mesmerized and done it myself as well, but I'm literally just hitting play on our viewpoints right now, and this is exactly what you would see in our live tab. We zoom into certain areas, zoom out, we make sure we have everyone covered in that live tab, so make sure you check that out kind of in between these forecasts. Friends, I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We wish you the best, and I'll be back very shortly with the latest right here at Media Mundo. Have a great night. Stay safe. I'll see you soon.